Good morning guys, and welcome back to my Facebook live stream that happens between Monday to Friday, 11 to 11:30 a.m. GMT London time. So welcome back. My name is Cheng. I'm a professional photographer, filmmaker, and an Olympus ambassador. So if you're new here, this is all about photography, filmmaking, and of course Michael Four Third, and especially Olympus gears. So yes, welcome back here. Oh, good morning. We've got a few people here already. And Ralph, Lydia, and Mark. Good morning all. Welcome back. Yes, as you may see my post, I do have something that I would like to talk about today. But more importantly, I want to combine a couple of things that I kind of missed yesterday, because I have to say that Facebook messed up my live stream yesterday, and which is quite an unfortunate thing. And I still think that a lot of people completely missed my stream yesterday, and I actually believe that only a handful of people could see my stream yesterday. I have no idea what happened there. But like I mentioned so many times, this is live streams, like things could happen. So if you can't hear me for some reasons, or if you cannot see me for some reason, please do let me know. Like yesterday, I have received personal messages saying that they can't see my stream, for instance, and that's how I found out that not many people could actually see anything. So unfortunately, that was, life. Unexpected stuff happens, right? Okay, so hopefully, yes, Brad is right. Good morning, Brad, and hopefully it's better luck today, and hoping that many of you can see whatever I'm trying to talk about today. So there are a couple of things I would like to show you. First of all, and I might as well just go right into it, is about wireless streaming. Yes, wireless streaming. I think is actually something I recently discovered that is possible. I actually didn't kind of thought about it, because initially I was thinking, okay, how can I utilize my digital camera and use it as a streaming or webcams, for instance. So then I digged up, about 2 months ago, just before I started all this live stream stuff, that I thought, okay, all I need to do is buy one of these things. This is of course, a online capture card. So you need one of these to transfer the HDMI signal from your camera to the computer, or whatever program you're using in your computer to do your broadcasting. So this is a very kind of crucial step to kind of kick-started my live streaming about 2 months ago, since the lockdown began. Then I dug in a little bit more. So if I really want to, let's say I want to do a live demonstration, how could I do that? So I dug in a little bit more. Then I bought another one, so I need another dongle. So I bought another dongle, so I can hook up a second camera, so I can use, my program that I am using at the moment, which is the Ecamm. So I can use like multiple cam, like for instance, I can switch different camera to do different things. That's all good, but then still didn't get away with one major problem. Is the wires. Because for live demonstration to happen, for instance, especially like, everything is, you can't really see at the moment, but everything is actually hooked up to my computer right here. And I have about 4 wires at the moment. One that is hooked up to the main camera that is filming right now, and then I have another power cable to power my computer, and one more cable for my second dongle for the second camera for any demonstration or second angle if I really want to. Another one which is another plug into my hard drive. So I've got quite a lot of wires going on at the moment. So if you want to do something, let's say slightly more interesting, slightly more dynamic, I want to walk away from my camera, and how could I possibly do that with all these wire attached to it? Then I thought about something. How about a wireless transmitter? That usually used in filmmaking. I'm not entirely sure how familiar you are with filmmaking, but it's a very common tool that we use as filmmakers and videographers to monitor or to give our clients a second look of the actual live action filming, so that they can get an idea, especially for the art director, exactly what it sees on the screen, like more closer to the final product. So this is a very, very important step. But because the wireless transmitter actually transmits, all these wireless HDMI signal that are coming out from the camera, basically, essentially, the same thing as the capture card. And in that case, in theory, that should work, right? So here we go. I got one of these things here, which is one of these transmitter here. I'm going to show you the picture, so it's easier because it's hooked up at the moment, because I'm going to do a live demo in a minute. So let me just bump up the this product picture. So this is the Hollyland 400 S transmitter. So it is used what I told you just now. This is used to transmit HDMI video signals wirelessly between the camera and a monitor, as long as it takes a HDMI input. So of course, if you have a HDMI video capture card, that means that you can use that to do live stream wirelessly. And yes, more importantly, wirelessly. That means that I can free myself up and have the camera walking around anywhere within range to do live demonstration. Because what it does now, it allows you know, everything that's been seen in the sensor being translated and transferred to the computer, so you can see exactly what I am actually doing and filming or even photographing at the time. So how good is that? Oh wow, I've got a few more people here. Burana, yes, and good afternoon for you, and there's Thailand there, and good morning and good afternoon, Ladia. Yes, good, excellent. So people are coming in here, that's great stuff, right? So this wireless transmitter really intrigued me, and also I would like to talk about, just very briefly, is about the price, because and usually wireless transmitter, a good wireless transmitter is not cheap. And that's a fact, because a lot of people who buy these sort of units are usually production companies, a bigger film crews, for instance, and this is essential for them, not as a money-making tool, but actually as a production tool. So, you know, like I mentioned, for them to transfer the actual live footage from the camera to the art directors or your client standing next to you, or maybe to the director, him or herself, to see exactly what the cameraman is doing. So it's a very well, I would like to improve the production rather than an essential piece or must critical piece for them to produce a film. It's definitely very useful. But what Hollyland is different from all the other stuff is actually because it's actually relatively affordable compared to all the other main products out there. And if you dig around, you don't have to trust me, you know, like, and all the major brands out there could cost you easily over 2 to 3 grand. You know, they are that expensive. But Hollyland's actually a lot less than compared to that, and it's actually very well built. The whole thing's made from metal, so I don't have to do more shout out than that, and it works fine. I mean, I'm going to do a live demo just right now in a minute, and not right now. I'm going to talk about more stuff as well. So it's actually very good stuff. I could walk around quite well in my back garden. However, I can't seem to be able to make it work around my house because there's too many brick walls in between, so I don't think the wireless signal actually work that well for that particular instance. But overall, if there is a clear line of sight, if there is not many let's say wireless interference, like a lot of Wi-Fi hotspots around, that you should be able to walk quite far from the actual receiver itself. Unfortunately, I live in, you know, a kind of dense residential area. There are a lot of houses around here, and I'm pretty sure there are probably about 200 different Wi-Fi hotspots around here, and so the wireless interference can be quite severe, and that's why the range is severely limited as well. So, but I'll still be able to do the demo because I just tried it, and it works really well. I can see exactly the quality coming up from this thing here. And having said that, I also have to say that this unit does take on 4K input and 4K output. Not 4K output, this 1080 output. So whatever you see will be downgraded or downscaled to 1080. But that's still good enough for live streaming, and there's no problem at all, because especially for Facebook, they compressed the hell of it. You know, you probably only get about 640 anyway. So that's not too bad. Deja vu. Right, Brad actually say, I hope it's still the weekend tomorrow. Well, it is the weekend, the start of our British bank holiday weekend. You know, I'm not sure what your plan is. We are deciding to have a barbecue maybe Monday or Sunday. I'm not entirely sure, depending on the weather, but we have everything ready. We bought the barbecue, we bought lots of burgers and food. So I am extremely excited about the weekend. How about you? Yes, good. So enough talking about this Hollyland 400S. What I want to also combine our talk today is my inspiration in photography. Right, it's very interesting. I'm going to try to step away from this computer at the moment. I'm trying to think about what I'm going to do. Like I mentioned, this is live, so I just have to kind of improvise while it goes along. Yeah, and I do have a lot of photos I want to show you guys. Maybe I go outside for a little bit, talk a little bit using the live stream function, and then I'm going to come back in here to show you some of the pictures on screen. So let me switch over to my second cam. Okay, Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! Okay, I'm hoping that you guys can still hear me. And there we go. See, you can see me, right? That's excellent. So let me see. It's still a little bit dark because this thing is set up for outside. So I'm gonna just pop outside for just a quick thing. So you can still see me. I'm gonna have to slap on an ND filter because the outside is a lot brighter than the inside. So there is the ND filter. I'm gonna slap it right on out. Bing! There we go. Ooh. Okay, you can see that I'm outside in my garden, and I have no idea what you guys are doing and talking at the moment because I'm stepping away from my computer right now, and but I am going to slot it into my tripod so I can sit down somewhere and talk a little bit about my inspiration. Right, there we go. Is it good? Right, I can actually move around with my camera wirelessly. I can actually take it, you know, around my messy garden, which I'm not trying to show you. And so I'm trying to find the prettiest place in my garden to conduct this little interview with me. So this is actually cool, isn't it? I just like the outdoor, and I so miss the outdoor, you know, and tell me, you know, how about you guys feeling stuck at home and things like that? I know we can go outside for, you know, exercise or some recreational purposes as of last Wednesday, but still, you know, it's so different compared to, you know, before the lockdown, where you can meet people, you can talk to people, you can go to restaurants and stuff like that, and you just can't do any of that anymore, well, at least for the next few months. So it's really weird, right? So let's go back to the topic, right? I did want to talk about the inspiration, and I know what I'm gonna say, or what I'm about to say, is going to be a little bit, how would I put it, standard. Because if people ask me who inspired you in terms of photography, who you look up to when you started photography, here's my answer. Henri Cartier-Bresson, right? The famous French documentary or street photographer master, or who actually invented street photography in the first place. So yes, it was him who inspired me, and that is true. Because I don't know how much you know about me as a photographer. I did talk a little bit about it a few weeks ago, and also on my YouTube before. I started, you know, as a travel photographer actually, and so I shot a lot of landscape. I do a lot of bloggings back in the days, and took loads of photos, and that's how I kind of got famous, and eventually people interview me from the States and stuff like that, and then I got my whole social profile built up. So that's kind of how I started in terms of photography, but ultimately it was Henri Cartier-Bresson actually inspired me and got me into the proper stuff that I wanted to achieve, which is people photography. I want to document moments, I want to document people's personality, I want to document the living style, the actual living space, and it's what he got me into it. And of course, Steve McCurry is another guy that I kind of looked up to when I kind of young in my photographic career as well, because, you know, obviously he's another kind of very great journalist, photojournalist, and it's just amazing his work, especially the early days when he was still a film photographer. So I really admired whatever he did back in the days. So Henri Cartier-Bresson is some guys who kind of took me by surprise in terms of how he convey his message over to the viewers. It's less so in terms of in like dynamic and also aesthetically structured, the how his photographs being presented to the viewers. Because in today's world, you know, it's very, very different. We have a lot more in the street compared to the old days. So like, I think, you know, like, and when he first started photographing on the street, you know, he can look up to things relatively in a more simplicity way. It's a simplicity way. I'm going to use the wrong word now. And very simplified way. Yes, that's the word. A simplified way, because things were relatively simple. There's not many screens on the street. There were not many like traffic, so things were a little bit more quiet, a little bit more calmer. And then today's street scenes, well, may not be the case for lockdown at the moment, but if you compare like for like, you know, and you would definitely go out on the street, you'll see way more people compared to when he photographed in the train stations, you know, on the stairs and things like that. And it's definitely very, very different. But it was his action, it was his patience, it was his personality, his eyes that capture me. And so even though like he shot in a completely different era compared to now, but the essence, his methodologies is all there. Like I mentioned so many times about photography, if you really ever wanted to capture something like really good, not good, but really, really good, or not even great, but just really, really, really good, yeah, you got to have that patience like he did. You got to have to study like he did. When I say study, he actually studied a scene many times. Like for instance, the famous photo, one of the most famous photo where the kid actually jumped over the little pond on the ground from the train station. That particular shot, how many times he actually went back and observed these kids, what they do around the area. And similarly, he another shot where he took just by the Brooklyn Bridge, same thing. How many times he actually go back to that same spot and trying to visualize what would happen if these all the questions he asked himself, what sort of thing he should be doing if you ever go and take that shot. And don't forget, yeah, he didn't have a digital camera back then. He only had a 35mm film. He may have a couple of rolls in his pocket, but every frame counts. He may took a few shots, doesn't hurt, but ultimately he didn't had any luxury or technology to actually help like what we do today, with digital stuff. We can basically just stand there, take loads and loads of shots and just choose one that you think is presentable. So we can end up taking hundreds, if not a thousand, just for picking a couple of good ones out for the day. But he only had a couple of rolls. So that means that he actually had to study. But this is something I always urge, a lot of beginners and photographers to try out, to really learn about photography in general, and making sure they actually appreciate the photographic making process. And this is very, very important. And eventually, if you do get the shot that you want, it's such a rewarding experience, right? You wouldn't disagree. If you do capture that shot and how hard to get that shot, you can tell story to your viewers and how you got that shot. It's amazing, right? It's so much about it. It's not so much about you just standing there and taking lots and lots of shots and then just, one came out. It's really cool. It may be cool, but you're not really telling the story because there's not much about it. And also in terms of the journey to getting that particular photo doesn't really give that extra edge to the I would like to say that behind the scene for that particular photo. So that could be something, right? And so this is something I want to kind of tell you guys why I think Henri Gaudí-Bresson really inspired me in that sense. And I mean, his photograph obviously is very, very good and masterpieces, or lots of the photos, he's just amazing. So is Steve McCurry and some other photographers. And we'll kind of slowly give you a lot of the names that really inspire me in terms of photography later on in the series. But in today, I just want to talk about the very first person who inspired me was Henri Gaudí-Bresson. I do have a lot of his photo books in my garage somewhere, and because I just moved to this place, like I mentioned before, and my garden, that's why my garden's still in a mess. My studio is still in a mess, and not quite finished to the standard I would like to film inside or do anything organized. So that's why I have to continue doing my live stream on my dining table. Speaking of which, let's head back inside and talk a little bit about photo, because I do have something to show you guys as well. But how is it now for the live streaming thing? Do you think it's actually pretty cool? I think the quality from coming out from the Mars 400S, this wireless transmitter, is darn good, right? It's amazing how flexible and how kind of let me just try to take it out now. How cool is that I can just take out the camera and just walk around, completely wireless. And let me just have a peek so see if you guys can see me. You guys can see me, that's cool. How good is that, right? It's just amazing how flexible this system allows me to do wirelessly. So I can actually go around doing some live demo. Maybe I will do some bug searching I can slap on a macro lens on this particular unit, and so you can see a lot of the little bugs like crawling around my walls and stuff like that. I think a lot of kids might like that sort of thing, right? And okay, anyway, I'm gonna head back in so we can continue our conversation. All right, just 1 second. I am gonna come back in. Woo. Whew, it's a lot quieter, right? Okay, now I need to put out my ND filters because it's a lot darker now. And let me go back to my main cam. Yes. Whew, okay, I am back. So how are you guys? How are you guys? All around to Jimmy's house for burnt sausages. Excellent stuff. And yes, Mark, welcome to my house to do some barbecue. And well, social distancing still have to be maintained, right? Okay, cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed the demo, and let me know what you think about the wireless transmitter. I think it does open up a new avenue and also a more creative way for me to do some live streaming, for instance, and also to do some live demonstrations where I can actually go out and photograph something live. Not so much about portrait, because no one's going to be coming around my house and do some portraits, especially my garden still look like shit. So so it's not going to happen. But at least maybe I can do some photo stuff actually on screen, and you can see you know, taking some lovely photo of dandelions and some dead bugs and stuff like that. Maybe something like that. Okay, should bring my phone to view live comments too. I did try that, Burana, and but it didn't work. Still didn't work. I don't know why, and I cannot see why my phone just doesn't really show me anything for some reasons, and it's just kind of like really screwing my head a little bit. But cool, let's go back to my inspiration about photography. Right, let's go to what is this? I'm trying to remember what is. Oh yes, by the way, look at this. Right, for some reason, you guys are taking particular interest in my old self. This 13 years ago. This photo was taken 13 years ago, 2007. And then a lot of you guys got so interested in this particular photo, they've been commenting it. Why? Okay, I may look a little bit more immature, a bit younger, got more hair, better physique, I guess. But it's still me. Well, yeah, I got no mustache there, and as well. But is an old photo, but you guys seem to have taken an interest of it. But to be honest, actually, just joking. But I actually, when I look at this photo, and I thought, gosh, man, I looked young. I really looked young, and I couldn't believe my eyes. You know, that was me. And also, there are a couple of other pictures as well. You guys keep digging up, and then see. Some of the photos I took, you know, back in the days, like 2005, 2004, something like that, and then start commenting those photos that I took way back. And gosh, I mean, like I got blurry photos, I got really crap photos, and I can't close my eyes. Oh shit! But I'm exposing myself with all these like really horrible images. But at the same time, you know, there are some comments actually said that, you know, how far I've become, you know, and a much better photographer since then, you know, and that's a compliment, you know, way, because I could see myself improving, you know, like year on year. So every year I look back in the photos that I took from previous years, I know that I have definitely made an improvement, which is good. And I think this is what photography or any sort of arts and crafts about, right? If the more you practice, the better you get, and the more experienced you become, and ultimately you just become better. You know, you shouldn't really stick with one pace all the time. You just have to keep pushing the boundary to become a better photographer. And so let's get rid of myself here. Let's see what others see. Right, I found this as well. One of my friends actually posted this on her Facebook yesterday, and I thought it's actually a very cool wordings, right? And life is like a camera. Focus on what's important. Capture the good times. Develop from the negatives. And if things don't work out, just take another shot. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think it makes my day. Isn't it right? Yeah, this is really is life, and also it's what photography is all about. There is no right or wrong. I know there is bad photos, but look, you know, everybody takes bad photos and as well as good photos. So if you take a bad one, learn from it and take a better one next time, eventually you will get a great photograph. The same as life, you just don't give up. As long as you stick with what you believe, what you're passionate about, this is what it's all about. And then it will eventually make it. And just don't worry about what other people say. And you will make great friends along the way, just like what I'm doing now. I'm just meeting all of you, and you guys really make my day every day I do this live stream. I see you guys come on and chat to me like a friend, and this is what I care about. I don't really care about what other people saying, and as long as I am happy, as long as you are happy, I think that's what's important. Excellent. Mo, good morning here. And mine was my dad. He was taking photographs, developing negatives, and also printing them at home. He had an M2 taking photo all the time. He was the unofficial village photographer. Brilliant. And you have a different, okay, Trevor have a different sign in the office, but it's the same words. I just think it's cool, right? I think these wordings are brilliant, and it really kind of noting what life is all about. And it's actually photography as well, like I mentioned so many times, that really don't give up. And I know people could say that you're a shit photographer, you're shit at whatever you're doing, but don't ever believe these people. If you're really passionate about something, keep on it, just keep on it. And but you, at the same time, you will and you must learn from your mistake, and also be open-minded about taking people's criticisms and learn from why people are telling you. Okay, there will be some trolls around you which talk absolute shits to you, but you can ignore those people, have higher EQ, just ignore these people. But when people do talk about your photography in a more critical way, like a more constructive way, like, oh, you're underexposed, your composition should be this and that, please do listen. Because he or she may be wrong, but at least you listen and you can see, maybe I did something, may not, I don't know. You just have to kind of make sure that you have the approach, so that way you can improve and learn about yourself, and also improve your photography for future users. The Mo, actually the dad, used to be the village photographer, and I think I've always been the family photographer. So even before I became a professional doing other things, and it's something that because I always holding a camera, and people just expect me to be there to take photographs, even though I wasn't one when I was much younger, but people still expected me to become the photographer of the day, and that happens a lot. Okay, let me just go to see what I talked about Henri Cartier-Bresson, because it's one thing that I really do admire him, is that if you looking back in the history, and Mark actually said something about Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams is also my hero. Ansel Adams his black and white work is just amazing, and he has also a lot of this theory that he talked about, and relating to the luminous values, and which actually helps you to understand the lights and shadow, which actually really good for your photography. You are really intending to do a lot of black and whites, because it's absolutely amazing. Well, let me just go back to a lot of this Henri Cartier-Bresson thing that I was trying to say. There you go, that's the page I want to bring up. Okay, so if you're looking back his history, this is something I just quickly go back to the wiki, because it's easy for me to reference it. Is that if you think, he never really an awarded photographer, so to speak, because he didn't win many things. But he's a magnum photographer, because he kind of started the genre of street photography. He has many great shots, but he wasn't a recognized guy in his younger days. And but he continued what he believed, which what we just talked about, right? And I think it's essential if you take this approach. Like, you really shouldn't really care about what other people think, as long as you keep on believing and continue your direction of photography, because you really do need a directions. That's something I haven't really talked about before, is that, for instance, if you believe that you're really good at something, like in a particular genre of photography, like if you're really good at bugs, like you're not afraid of bugs, you really like to shoot close up, you just love bugs in general, you should really focus on macro photography of bugs, for instance, or my passion has always been documentaries, you know, like looking at changes of lives, anything to do with the people, living styles and living space. Then that's my kind of directions. You need a direction to focus, because this is what Henri Cartier-Bresson did, and so is many other great masters before that. So this is something you definitely need to focus, so you will be able to enhance that particular field further. It's easier for photographers to say that I take great photograph for anything. To a certain extent, yes, but then you can never be great if you have like so many different interests and also so many different genres that you're into. I think ultimately you just have to be focused on one, maybe two, but I think one is the best. And I do a lot of my documentary stuff. That's my main interest, my passion. But for commercial reasons, I take, you know, obviously portraits and also weddings. That makes my money, you know, that so I can live on. But I mean, I did mention so many times that I'm definitely not a landscape photographer. I'm not a macro photographer. I'm not a line painter. I'm not one of those people who create a lot of nude photography, for instance. I'm just not those type of people, and I just have no interest in them. Not no interest, but I do have interest, just not something that I'm very good at. But I'd rather, you know, focus on my direction and my interest. So this is kind of what he was. You know, you can see that he only got award in the Grand Prix and National in 81. You know, he was born in 1908. That means he didn't really get any awards or any sort of recognitions until he was so late in his career. And that shows his person, yeah, how much he endured, how much of a patient he is as a photographer, and how much he believed in himself and whatever he does. You know, this is something that I think that says a lot about him as a photographer, and something that I would believe, you know, and would transpire to a lot of the, photographers who look up to him as the god of street photographers. You know, for me, you know, a lot of my work kind of associating with his style. Like early days, I mean, I do a lot of stuff like these one here, and not this particular shot, which is a totally different style, but things like the Brooklyn Bridge, for instance. You know, this is one of his typical shot that he did a similar one in this particular situations, and of course the scenes is very different. The timing is very different, but I also did it in black and white just to honor him in a way. It was a quick shot. This one is a quick shot. I mean, I was in New York just for a brief visit, and I went to that spot just to see the place. And of course, you know, when I was there, why don't I just snap a shot? So I was there for about, you know, not very long, and because I already seen this picture before, so I kind of know what to expect. So I had my 25mm on. All I did was just to wait there, and then hopefully there will be some people crossing and kind of mimic the same feel and the same look. It's just something I kind of did this only for Henri Cartier-Bresson, not so much for let's say for other people to admire and things like that. I just really purely do for me, so I can do something that I for my hero that I used to look up to as a younger photographer, and also that. You know, talk about his style and how he influenced me, and then slowly kind of transpired me into putting the street photography into my commercial shooting, for instance. And I show you this particular photo here. So I did this more or less like actually like a sneaky shot for, in a way, that for my one of my shoot for the Billingham bags, and so I have this model just kind of walk, ask him to just keep on walking. And when you get to that door, the glass door, just look to me. So yes, it is a pose shot, but I'm really trying to make it as natural as possible. So is actually in motion, everything in motion. So I took a few shots in this case because I really wanted something more than just him walking past. So I was waiting something to happen, and so happened that this taxi came along, and it was live. He was actually driving. And so it's good that to see a little people, just a couple of people behind the taxi there, but the taxi was actually driving past me, and he also just so happened to walk in front of the taxi in this particular frame and in the middle of the door. So this frame just worked straight away because I wanted to be as natural as possible, and this kind of like a street moment thing that got inspired by, you know, Henri Cartier-Bresson so many times about the moment and his leg positions in his hand, his arm and his legs, and also his glance look into the camera. It's almost like a sneaky and peeking shot, right? So it actually really works. So I like this sort of thing, and also a lot of the street portrait stuff that I did, and this is more like a Vivian Myers, another woman that I really kind of look up to. Although she's only been discovered like only a few years ago, but her work was kind of amazing. And but this is something that I actually did before I learned about Vivian Myers already. I kind of like talking to stranger on the street. If Marcel's here in the live stream, and you probably would know that we did a workshop together, and I taught him to talk to strangers and take photograph of stranger on the street, do something similar like this, because I genuinely like to learn about people. So like every time I go up to and see a stranger or see a very interesting character, I would literally, it's my motivation. I would actually go up to him and start to talk to him. I was like, you look really cool, man. I just want to learn about him as a person, or him or her as a person, just to find out exactly what's going on in his brain and things like that. I don't know, just me. And another shot that is possibly very, I mean, you've seen this photo already so many times. So I posted here a lot, I posted on my social a lot, and then this is one of my most popular photos as well. It's a classic black and white photo in London. And once again, because of what you can see as the actual structure and the composition, it really does mimic some of the older time photography. In fact, this photograph was only taken in a few years ago, just before the London terrorist attack happened. That's why I think, in a way, this is also a timeless and also an important piece of photograph. Only because that if you go back to this place now, it will not look like this at all. And so this is something that I would treasure for life, because I managed to capture this particular photo before everything changed. And that says something that I believe the power of photography about documenting a specific time is, and this is really interesting. So and also about timing stuff, and this is obviously more about me, and of course you can also see the similarity there, and kind of my style is kind of coming through now, what sort of thing I was looking for. So this is of course Tower Bridge. You all know about Tower Bridge by now, and because I've seen so many, well, I've posted so many photographs about Tower Bridge, because this is one of the most popular places I photograph in London, because a lot of my clients usually ask me to go there and take photograph, and like I mentioned, a lot of my clients are actually coming from abroad, so when they come to London and ask me to be a photographer and take some portrait of them, they want some landmarks, and so yeah, that's why I'm always there. But anyway, I do like this place because it does look timeless, especially when you doing a high contrast black and white shot. I just think that it looks pretty cool. This particular one, of course, you have the same framing compositions, and also some leading lines there, and also the high contrast textures that I wanted to impose after a kind of, I wouldn't say heavy rain, maybe a heavy drizzles, and so everything was wet, reflective, and the light was just shining there. You can see the sky just about to clear, and you do have some really strong directional lights coming in. So it just kind of worked in this sense, and I do like the textures and the punchiness from the hard, deep black shadow. That's really cool. Any other thing that I want to show you is, let's see, I have maybe this one here, and I have seen similar photos like this recently. I think people are having a similar sort of approach from younger photographers. I don't know whether they've seen this or they've seen something else, but it's actually something that I always kind of look out for, is the light and shadow. And this is also, remember I talked about lights, in terms of composition, you do need to look for the right lights for composition. And this is exactly what I mean. And sometimes it may look very trivial, but if you have the lights, have the textures in the background, and also the people, and you can actually do something rather interesting. So all you need to do, you just kind of have to wait, be patient, and wait for the right moment to capture. It's something that you just have to train yourself to observe, a lot of stuff, not only for the light, but also for the atmosphere, the people surrounding, and what's going on. So it's easier said and done. A lot of photographers always make that mistakes that, they go out to a place, just snap and then go. Sometimes you want to take that great photograph, like I mentioned earlier, outside my garden, you need that patience to be there and observe. And also, sometimes you may take days, like Henri Cartier-Bresson did. They take days to study the people, the place, you know, the weather situation, the lighting angles, the light in general. He observed everything. So making sure that, you know, when he does return to that place to take photograph, he has all the ammunitions in his pocket, so he will be able to capture that shot. And even if slight changes and things like that, he is ready because he knows this place so well. He knows all the light where it hits, whether it's going to be harsh light, whether it's going to be soft light, whether there's going to be one kid, whether there's two kid jumpings, and he knows everything. He's been there, he studied it. So, you know, of course, not a lot of people can do that these days because, you know, if they're not professional photographer, they only have certain amount of time to execute a shot. But in my case, I still think it's not to rush it. You know, okay, you may not have hours or days to do it, but let's take 5 minutes. You know, if you really see that frame is working, stay there for a few minutes. Just observe. You know, don't rush it to get a shot. You know, if you don't get it, that's all. Move on. Just do something else. But if it does happen, look, you waited for it. You waited for that moment. It sounds and feels way more rewarding, right? And oh, Mark, you are so good. Fan Ho, yes. Fan Ho is obviously one of the famous Hong Kong street photographer who documented the changes of Hong Kong, and I love his work. Yes, he is another one of my heroes, and I'm not so sure about his later life and his later works in terms of he's starting to do a lot of imaginative montages that he did, and I much prefer his earlier works. And but you know, like many photographers, they evolved over time and they were starting to do something different or something that they kind of eventually settled on. And this is what Fan Ho did, and he really liked to create this sense of unrealistic space of Hong Kong, you know. But that was his vision. I respect that. And in some cases, they do look and worked really well. But in overall, I just think that it took away that realism that I kind of saw and liked in his early part of his career when he was purely documenting the life of Hong Kong people and then how Hong Kong had developed. So his later work is more becoming a dream. And but you know, obviously people got different takes on it. A lot of people like that work, and he's still a classic. Don't get me wrong, I admire that everything that he did. It's just not my preference for his later part of his career. So is Steve McCurry. You know, I liked him. You know, I really admire all his early works, especially, you know, and all the Africa, India, and all those type of photographic journey that he did. But again, when he turned into digital photographer, and that's when his work starting to become less appealing for me, and he's starting to do a lot of photo manipulations. He's starting to do a lot of things that I personally took away his value as a photojournalist. So yeah, it's weird how people evolve over time and how you can see changes in them. But never mind, you know, he's still as popular as ever. He's still a master, I would call him, and I still like his work. It's just not so much of his later part of his works, you know. Then that's something that I believe is you just have to be mindful about changes, not only for the grandmasters to witness, but also for yourselves, because you will evolve over time as well. Just like you saw a lot of my older photos, and some of my things just look absolutely horrendous, you know, and they're lucky that I became better. And but I'm not so sure in 10, 20 years time how much further evolution I'm going to have in terms of photography and filmmaking. It could be completely different to what I'm taking right now, so it could be very, very different. Roman, good morning. And let's see, I found your video about megapixels, and if you need, oh, you found it, okay, cool, excellent. Yes, please send me the link. And I'm not entirely sure which one it was. And you know, I talked about megapixel. Roman was asking about megapixel yesterday, about megapixel and printing, and yeah, great. And don't forget, if you miss any of my live stream, and I have them archived in my own YouTube channel, so you can go back and look at them if you want. Stay tuned on my personal YouTube page as well. I'm starting to make some videos for it, and although it's still kind of a very beginning stage, but of course I still have my normal Red 35 photography YouTube channel if you want to stay tuned for all thing latest reviews and stuff like that, including the fabulous Mars 400S, which I'm going to do a proper review for, because it's just a really cool tool, right? You know, and And that we all Ray actually said we all revolve and the distance is to keep shooting. Yes, that's the word, right? Just keep shooting. You know, no matter what happens, just keep shooting. Remember this, what I just said about you know, life is like a camera. Just keep shooting. Doesn't matter if you can't, if it doesn't work out, just keep doing it until the days you got it. But even if you got it, you still do it. Just keep doing it. And so, oh, Roman say that, do I have EP1 and or EP3? And which is it the live stream you're talking about? I should have everything in it, and I'm not entirely sure which one you refer to. Maybe my vlogs. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, we can talk. Message me, PM me, so I can talk about this. I'm not entirely sure which particular episode you're looking for, but I should have all my videos archived. Yeah, should. I know a couple of them did miss. I'm missing, but definitely not 1 and 3. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, so what do you think about the wireless transmitter? Awesome, right? And that I actually think that it's a very cool tool for me to start doing some live demonstrations and things like that. And this thing really works. I love it. You know, okay, it is relatively big, but look, it's a completely wireless system that allow me to transmit, you know, anything that captured live from the camera to the computer, and then eventually you guys will see it, and that's amazing, right? Just to show you guys around, look at this. This is cool, right? And look at it, bokeh from the 17 millimeters 1.2. I need to just turn up the ISO because I don't have. I think I need to. Okay, there you go. 400 will do. 400 will do the job. That looking nice. Look at it, nice and crisp here. Let me just turn this off. Look at this live stream stuff, wireless. I like it. It's just so cool, man. It's no wire. Look at that, no wire. It's so cool. That's no wire. This is just amazing. I mean, I love it because when there's no wire, it really does free you up a lot in terms of live streaming. This is one thing that kind of like the holding block. You know, I couldn't do a lot of stuff that I really would like to do. That is so cool. Okay, and hi, good morning, Sam. Good morning. Nice to see you here. Nice to join. And nope, I'll see if you have now EP3. I send your video about live streaming to Jennifer. She'll check out. Cool. Right, yeah, send this one out as well because you can actually see a better demo as well. It's really cool. I will try to upload this video on my YouTube and put it live at some point because I'm slowly releasing my archive on my YouTube. So at the moment, I think it's up to the beginning of May. So if you go to my personal YouTube channel and the link in the description, you'll see the archive from all my previous Facebook stream. So you're going to catch up on anything that you missed. But yeah, it's all good fun. It's all good fun. And next week, I'm going to have another topic for something else. So stay tuned for that particular thing. But next Wednesday on my YouTube live, we're going to have another discussion. It's going to be another interesting discussion, hopefully. It's about your favorite camera. Right, yes, I'm a geeky head as well. You know, even though I'm a photographer, I still like to talk about gear. I won't say that I'm a gear nerd, but I like to talk about gear in general. Photography, cameras. I like cameras. Who doesn't? I think all dudes do, right? Don't you like cameras? I like cameras. And which one is your favorite camera? We're gonna have a discussion on next Wednesday's YouTube live discussion. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. So let me know what you guys are going to do this weekend. And like I mentioned earlier, if you missed, we're going to do a barbecue. So I haven't had a barbecue for a long time. So I'm looking forward to it, even though that I may not be able to have friends over. And yeah, it would be nice just to at least kind of do something. You know, I'm still kind of missing, you know, all this interaction with friends and things like that. But that's why I'm saying that this YouTube and also my Facebook live stream is really helpful in kind of bringing me back into a world that I'm familiar with, like speaking to people. This is how I usually do things. I like to speak to people. I like to talk to people. I like to interact with people, and this is great. I like this, and it's really awesome. Oh, don't, Roman, don't say that now. He's already announcing his stuff, and okay. Oh, Mark is coming back on. Mark is coming back. Oh, everyone, Ooh, OM1 is my love it. I love the OM1, and yeah, keep going. I'm gonna post my community page once again, asking people what's your favorite camera, and we're gonna have a fun discussion about it. See whether we have something in common. That could be interesting, right? I'm just a nerd, man. So when it comes to technical stuff, and even though I wouldn't say I'm an engineer, but I do like to talk about features. I do like to talk about things. I may not be the person who like to drill down to all the nitty gritty, all the numbers and things like that. And because ultimately I'm still a photographer, I'm more interested in or care if I can take a great shot or not. So features and numbers doesn't really relate to me, but doesn't make that I don't like to read them. Just I'm interested and curious about them because they are ultimately the technology that push the envelope further and further, and that's how things improve and evolve over time, right? Oh, Ray has OM1N. You got that camera, right, Ray? Ray is an Olympus guy as well now, as far as I know. Well, he's still shooting Nikon, and yeah, well, you know what? I think they do listen, but of course, like so many things that you don't see behind the scene, unfortunately, and this is something I will talk about in next week's stream, and but we can have a little chat here as well, is that camera manufacturers, when they do R&D stuff, they already have a lots of plans set out for them. And things that they may listen, but it doesn't get implemented until way later down the drain, because you think about things that you are about to get, for instance, and then you simply will have no idea how long ago they actually started on the drawing board. It could be 2 to 3 years ago. That means the thing that you're talking right now, it possibly either because of the reaction from other camera manufacturers or whatever other products that you have seen, or some other news development that you may have read online, and you reacted to those news and then trying to make a note for the camera manufacturer, but that doesn't get translated because these things that you're speaking of now will definitely not translate into the upcoming product, simply because the drawing board is done 2-3 years ago and they're already manufacturing it for by the time you're speaking about it. So it may transfer to the next generations, not next, but the next generation. So that's why it's always kind of behind a little bit. So it so happened that the camera that comes out, it fall into something that you haven't heard of, or something that you just kind of got to your attention positively, and then you think that, oh wow, that's cool. But if it doesn't, and you feel disappointed, I don't think that we should all feel disappointed if the camera doesn't come up to the specification that you want to see, because ultimately, like I mentioned, you are a photographer. The most important thing is that you can utilize that tool to capture the shot that you want. And it's very easy to talk about things that you want rather than you need, right? I think that's a more better way of saying it. And we want a lot of things. I mean, I want so many things the camera can give it to me, but not necessarily they will give it to me. And let's see, Brianna's going to clean my house from my brother's camera. Oh, you have an OM2. Oh, that's interesting. Right, okay. Cool. Oh yeah, of course. Ray is mainly a Polaroid guy. I mean, if you want to learn about instant stuff, seriously, hit this guy up, man. This guy, Ray, is the master of instant photography, and he loves all this multiple exposure stuff. He create a lot of cool artwork from it, and it's just really, really cool stuff. I can't do it personally. I'm just not that type of photographer. I have instant cameras. I review them, but I don't use them as such. I mean, I do use them to capture my kids. That's like what my parents used to do, just snap them, have some kind of instant memory of them. So I still do them, but not as an art form like what Ray does. Ray is really, really cool. So hit him up for anything that you want to learn about Polaroid. And Travis sent me just sent me some of a street photo in Philippines. Thank you. I'll have a look at them. And then Mark, adapt the lenses to your digital. Yes, I do that. I really do that as well. I have a lot of adapters. I use my old FD lenses from Canon. I have old Leica lenses that I adapt to the Olympus. I have even the Pentax 110 cameras. I have, you know what? Yes, talking about that. I am a big big, big, big Pentax 110 camera fan. I don't know if you heard about those cameras before. They're these tiny 110 camera film cameras. I have an entire collection of them, and I mean entire collection. I have everything, all the lenses that ever released on the catalog, even the rare ones. I have all the accessories, like including teleconverters. I have all the flashes. I have all the different models, and yeah, I have the whole lot. I have the whole lot of them, and you can adapt those 110 lenses onto the Micro Four Third. And funny enough, you don't know much about them. The 110 camera film negative size is actually about the size of a Micro Four Third sensor, and that means that the lenses are kind of tailored for that particular focal length, even though it may not have the resolutions, the sharpness, the contrast like a modern day lens would do. And also because the aperture is actually controlled in the camera, so the lens on the 110 cameras is fixed, it's wide open all the time. So if the lens is 2.8, it's always 2.8, and so you can't really change it, but that's fine. 2.8 is nothing these days, so you can just slap it onto your Micro Four Third camera and can still use it quite nicely. So yeah, it's all manual focus as well, just super tiny, so cute. I like the cute lenses. And Roman is panning for now, and we have to check the HDR and panning works, and you're still trying to panoramic shots. And Brana can yes, at Ray, you know, and I think he would definitely be interested in taking you as a friend if you're interested in Polaroids and Insta stuff. I'm geeking out. I am geeking out because, like I said, I do like to talk about gears, and even though I'm not technically a nerd, I'm definitely not technically a nerdy reviewer, because I review. If you're familiar with my style of reviewing camera gears, you would know by now that I like to do things in a more real-life scenario. I like to use the product and show you what you can use or capture and achieve from that product itself. So that's kind of my style. I never really drew down to the technical specification, like how much it weighs, how many elements in the lens, and how many coatings in the thing. I don't do that sort of thing. It's just not me, because I'm a photographer. I don't really give a shit about those things. You know, I just care about whether I can capture the bloody shot. If it's a good enough camera that have all those elements that I need as a professional, I say it's a good camera. But obviously, I do it objectively, and then and also subjectively sometimes, depending on what sort of product it is. I would look in like from a consumer level, not from a professional level, and so forth. If it's a consumer camera, I'll look at it as a consumer, and if it's a professional camera, I'll look at it as a professional, and so forth. So yeah, that's kind of thing that I as me. But yeah, like I said, I'm still a geek. And I've done a video on adapting old lenses. Yes, I did a video on that, and which I do like to adapt lenses on it, and like it's still very capable. So why waste all these old lenses? You can use it on digital thing, and even though that it may not be made for, let's say, Micro Four Third, so you just have to use it as a crop sensor. So, but it's not a bad thing, because a lot of the older lenses, the best performing bit is in the center of the frame, right? Because the edges is usually really rubbish, especially from the older lenses. So if you have a Micro Four Third, you are actually taking out the cream from the camera, from these older lenses. So that means you usually get better quality from it. But having said that, the older lenses still hasn't or can't capture the same sharpness or micro contrast compared to modern lenses. This is all down to the actual capabilities of manufacturing back in the days in terms of tolerances and also the design. And of course, coatings also improve, the assemblies also improve. You know, so many things evolve over time, and that's why, like, even today's kit lenses you buy from the camera is better than a lot of the older pro lenses back in the 60s and 70s, just because technology has improved so much, and that you will be able to get better shots with today's camera compared to olden time. Panorama was not great, and yeah, I mean, I still think, you know, Olympus needs to work on a little bit about their panoramic features. As long as it does a good crop, I think it will be better. But at the moment, the camera doesn't do really a good cropping process in camera. If you really want a better panoramic shot, straight out of the camera, you're better off using other cameras. And also like maybe iPhone is actually still better because it does a lot of things like technologically advanced in terms of cropping. So like smartphones do a lot of computation photography. I think it's really something that I should talk about because it's just fun. It's just fun to do that. Okay, I think that's about it. Oh God, I might have been talking for an hour today. Gosh, well, I did combine two things to talk about, right? I talk about the wireless transmitter and also my photography inspiration and things like that. So actually, pretty darn good. Oh, Mark, and another suggestion: Fujinon 55 1.8. I actually haven't tried that lens myself. I have other lenses, and but that sounds like a pretty interesting lens. 55. I usually like the 55 focal length, and then even though it doesn't sound a lot between 50 and 55, but it just a little bit different, and then just enough to differentiate in terms of the look and feel of it. And so that's interesting. Maybe I'll look it up and try it. But cool, right? Thank you guys for joining, and then there's one more comment from Roman before I end the shoot. So do you have a video about panning? No, not yet. Maybe I should make one, and then that will be quite cool. And also, Trevor just said that, yeah. Well, of course, if you are looking for quality, I think most panoramic photographers would agree that it's still better to do in post rather than do in camera. But for a lot of let's say the modern day photographers or social photographer who like to post things instantly, an in-camera process would definitely benefit these people. That's what Roman was saying. Obviously an iPhone would do a much easier and better job in terms of stitching them together and cropping it accordingly in the camera than the actual Olympus camera itself. Because the Olympus panoramic options is okay for stitching, but they leave all these kind of notches and edges and things like that. It just kind of look ugly. So if you post it out, you just have these kind of weird looking things out, and it doesn't crop. I think it should be able to crop digitally, but I don't know why they haven't implemented it. But this should be an easy fix. If they listen, there should be an overnight thing like this, but we shall see how long it will take Olympus to address that problem. We shall see. But Brad, thank you, and I certainly will enjoy my barbecue, and I'm looking forward to all my burgers. Apparently my wife told me I bought too many burgers. Who isn't a burger person, man? I am a burger person. I love burgers in barbecues. What is your favorite food for barbecue? I think that apart from burgers, I would like chicken wings, some ribs perhaps. Not so much of steaks. I like steak, I like beef steak, but I like it pan fried and actually barbecue. I think it's a waste on the barbecue, because I like to cook my steak nice. I need the blood inside. I need to kind of see it slowly coming into life and that kind of thing. Coming into life, that sounds horrible. No, definitely not. And okay. Right, okay guys, thank you for joining me. I know you guys are still talking a little bit, but like I mentioned, this live stream will continue until my job's coming back to normal, and by then I'll probably will still keeping some sort of schedule, but depending on what sort of thing that I will be doing. But stay tuned for that, and looks like I do starting to get some job inquiry back, so hopefully I will be able to get back into working mode very soon, and my YouTube will be back to normal for producing some kind of cool and fun and entertaining and informative videos once again. So a lot of things I want to do. I'm hoping to get back to normal, full stop. And then I'm hoping you guys do, and you as well. And I'm pretty sure you guys wish to go back to the outside and start doing normal things that, happened before the lockdown and so forth. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, so this live stream is going to continue next week, same time, 11 to 11:30 a.m. GMT London time, between Monday to Friday. And I have my usual Wednesday live with my YouTube channel, Web35 Photography, at 3 p.m. London time GMT. Usually that one's a lot longer, also a lot busier, and but it's all good. It's all good. Cool stuff. Well, thank you for joining me, and Brianna, thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Yes, indeed, stay safe, everyone. And once again, I'm going to show you this because I remember what I just said earlier. Life is like a camera. Focus on what's so important, capture the good times, develop from the negatives, and if things don't work out, take another shot. Brilliant quote. I'm going to stick that on every single stream now. Just going to tell you guys to stick with that. Remember, keep going, keep moving. You know, we are who we are. You know, we are cool people, right? All right, guys, enjoy your weekend and enjoy the sun. Enjoy everything you're gonna do this weekend. Have a lovely day and also stay safe with your friends and family. And yeah, just say hi to everybody for me. Hopefully, I'll see you guys back next week. And have a fantastic time. Yes, full stop. And also remember, I'm going to put my community post later on today for next Wednesday's YouTube stream. So do remember to put your favorite camera there. We can have a geeky talk next Wednesday. That's good fun. Right, okay, guys, I'll see you guys soon. It's already very, very long, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye for now.